Hey everybody, happy Freeform Friday. Welcome to the Beading Dreams Freeform Friday stream. Hope everyone is doing great wherever you are out there on the internet today. So we are actually doing this project. This was supposed to be a tutorial a few weeks ago, and for whatever reason it didn't happen. I can't remember if it was personal difficulties or technical difficulties or some combination of the two, but yeah, so we're going to be doing that project today, which I actually really like this one. I was very sad that I didn't get to do this one because it's pretty fun. So it's a soldering project, and I decided to do this one in 20 gauge wire, and then I hammered the crap out of it, which means that it's with 20 gauge wire you would think that it would be fairly flimsy, but it's not. It's now, if I really wanted to, yes, I could bend this in half and, you know, make it all kinds of unattractive shapes. Hi, Keiko! Thank you! This is one of my favorite shirts, and I get compliments every time I wear it. It's got random crap on it, but yes, this was a Nordstrom rack find, and I absolutely adore it. So yeah, so I used 20 gauge, but I hammered the crap out of it, which makes it sturdier. It means this weighs practically nothing, so this would be an ideal earring project as well. But you could absolutely make this out of heavier wire if you wanted to. So I'm going to do 20 gauge tonight. You could do 18. You could even do 16. And you could switch it up as well. So you could still use, if you wanted the delicacy for the inside components, you could use 20 for that, and then it's like 18 or 16 for the outside. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to kind of customize this project. So what do I need in order to make this? Just a quick rundown. I'm going to need my 20 gauge wire. I'm using bronze tonight. I'm going to need solder. I'm using actually 14 karat extra easy solder because that's the best color match for the bronze that I have available to me right now. And literally, as far as supplies goes, that's it. Wire, solder. If I don't want to make my own jump ring, you would need a ring for the top, but I think I'm going to make my own jump ring as well, because why not just do the whole nine? As far as tools go, you're going to need your whole soldering setup, so that means you're going to need your torch, you're going to need a soldering surface, flux, and a brush to apply your flux with, pickle and pickle pot, which I'm actually going to skip, because I'm going to... Okay, well no, not the camera. We're not going to set the camera on fire, because we did that already. Did not work out so great. I don't think Heather wants me to set her on fire, so maybe we shall set selected things on fire. How about that, Mary? Is that acceptable? I need water for my flux. I'll be right back. Okay. Set most of it on fire. See? Much more measured and reasonable. I like that. How's the schnitzel situation? That's a tongue twister. Hey, Ace! That was way more water than I needed. Now I have this like whole canyon of water that I need to put flux in to make it thick enough to use. Alright, that should work. So yeah, so flux and a brush to apply it with. You're going to need a file because we're making circles, which means we're going to have to file them. You're going to need your basic hand tool set, round nose, chain nose, wire cutters. Also, we're going to be making various different sizes of circles, so I have a variety of different tools to assist me. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mary. That sucks. Though tonight's not a sale night, so that means you gotta drink faster because it's only a tutorial. Unless you're finding out tomorrow, in which case I'm guessing you'll be drunk before the sale starts. Poor baby. Sale, tutorial, potato. Hey, Rose! Stream. There we go. So I'm going to be making various sizes of loops. So I've got various sizes of loop making things. I'm not quite sure which ones I'm going to need. So I've got 3 sizes of bail making pliers. I've got a regular size ring mandrel, and then I have my super giant ring mandrel, which I've never actually used to make a ring for anybody's finger, because it starts at size 16 and goes up to size 24, but it's really good for making circles that are not giant but not tiny either. And you're going to need a bench block and a hammer. because like I said, at the end of this project we are going to hammer the crap out of it. And I probably have forgotten some things, so we'll just kind of go with the flow and see what I've forgotten when I remember that I forgot it. So I'm going to start by it's going to take about, I know, right, Mary? Well, apparently they do, because they make mandrels for that. You're going to need probably a sum total of anywhere from 18 to 24 inches of wire to do this. So I'm just going to chop off a piece of wire, and then I might need to cut myself more in a minute. I mean, I will say, I remember my gym teacher in middle school. He was a large man. He might have worn like a size 17 or 18 ring.
I'm positive some Super Bowl rings are like a 20.
Yeah. But I mean, this is actually, it is legitimately a sized mandrel up to size 24. And I know that this post has like gone viral several times, but it's been going around again. The post of Shaq holding things like a chicken like a hot wing drumstick, or like a Pepsi can, and they just look laughably tiny in his giant meat hooks of hands. It's pretty funny. If it comes around on my feed again, I'll post it in Discord. No, I was not talking about actual food, though. Shout out to Sheena, who probably isn't on stream, but she brought us a holiday survival kit that included, let's see, 3.5 liters of alcohol, plus 2 bottles of Prosecco, plus chocolate. So yeah, thank you, Sheena. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my outside. Wow. 4.78 inches around. Oh my god. That's insane. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I am going to, Rose is not wrong. The most common use of a mandrel like this is, in fact, for making hoops and various sizes of circles for earrings or whatever. So I'm just going to start by making a circle. And remember, it's going to spring up, which is good because I think I want it to be a little bit bigger than this. So I'm just going to take that around and overlap it like so. And then I'm going to let it go. And I'll take it off my mandrel. And that's actually,
look at that picture of him
it's
holding
a little bigger.
A bottle.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That is insane.
Okay, so I actually made it too big. So I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. Sheena is the Beading, I mean, you are all Beading Dreams MVPs, but I will say that she at least wins the MVP award for today, because once again, 3.5 liters of alcohol, plus chocolate, plus Prosecco.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
So yeah, she definitely wins today. But you guys are all our Beading Dreams MVPs. Okay, so still a little big. It's always easier to make something bigger than it is smaller, so I don't know why I always start out too big. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. And I kind of like how I squished it a little bit here to make it wider, which means I actually even need to get it a little smaller. So what I'm doing to ensmallen it is I'm just taking it closer to the end of the mandrel. Okay, I think we're gonna go with that. So now I'm gonna cut this, and so I'm using a flush cutter, and you want to make sure to cut flush ends on the ends of the wire that are staying. So that means this is my waist, so my flush cut goes there, and then I'm going to rotate my cutters around, so then I make another flush cut there. So what I have in my circle here are 2 relatively flush ends. I'm still going to have to file those in a minute, And I actually, since I'm gonna have to fit the other stuff in here, what I think I'm gonna do is actually file this and solder it, and then make my other components, again, because they have to fit inside this circle for my pendant design to work. So I'm gonna take a file, just a regular flat file, and what I need to do is just flatten the ends of this wire so that I can solder it together. And this is getting to be that in-between size where I don't really have a mandrel that I'll be able to stretch this on to make it round again, because it's too big for this, but too small for a bracelet mandrel. So this is one of the very rare occasions where it's actually pretty important that you do your best to preserve the circular shape of this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the more circular you keep this, the easier it's going to be to make a nice looking shape out of it. Alright, so I'm going to grab my soldering stuff. Don't forget, be safe. If you need a refresher on soldering safety, please feel free to type S safety, exclamation point S safety into the Twitch chat, and that will get you a link to my 5-point soldering safety lecture. As always, don't necessarily trust randos like me on the internet with your safety. If you're making a home studio, you might want to consult with actual experts. However, I have been teaching this for a number of years, so there are definitely some things I have seen, and some pretty easy practices that you can put in place to keep everything under control. Okay, so my joint is there, and I don't like how grainy this is. Like, if I zoom out, let me see if I can find a happy medium between being not quite so grainy and zoomed in, where you can still actually see things. Alright, I don't know if that's better or not, but I think that's as good as it's gonna get. So, alright, so my joint is here, so I'm gonna, I know, right? Like, yeah, no, that's why I'm using the zoom function and not actually moving the camera, because I can't afford a new webcam right now if I mount this one. Okay, so I put a little bit of flux on my joint. Now I'm gonna grab my solder. Like I said, I am using 14 karat gold, extra easy solder here. And that's just for color matching purposes only. I hate this. Rio Grande has started heat sealing all of their bags in addition to using the Ziploc, and it's just really annoying to have to cut open the reclosable bag. It's not like it's food, it does not have to be sealed for my protection. Alright, so I'm going to cut myself off a wee bitty small piece of solder, okay? Especially since this is 14 karat gold, I really don't want to waste. So about that much solder. And since this is a freeform class and not a tutorial, I'm going to pick transfer it, because that's my preferred method of soldering. So you could see it so much better if I just moved it up a little bit more. Closer to the camera. Alright, we're living dangerously, people. Pray for me. Alright, so come on, now I'm gonna have to refocus. Oh, goodness. I need like some kind of heat protection shield for my camera. that at least is a little bit better. All right. So now I've got my joint here that's fluxed. I've got my solder right here. So now I'm going to grab my solder pick and I'm going to close this joint. So I'm just going to heat everything up until my flux turns clear. And then I'm going to grab my solder on my solder pick and ball it up like so. And then just touch it to my joint. And there we go. Wham bam, joint closed. So now I'm going to let that cool before I try and touch it. And then I'm going to make the other circles that are going to go inside of it. So it's just going to take a minute for that to get to the point where I can touch it without burning myself. So tomorrow evening we have captured cabochon pendant for you. That's going to be a really fun one. That is a cold setting. So it's a way to set a cabochon without actually having to use a torch. And then we are, of course, going to be following that up with the live merchandise sale. And there is still time to shop for Christmas gifts. We will make sure that we get everything out to you in time. Okay, so now I have I've got my circle, and just want to shape it with my fingers to give it a little bit of that squished shape that I wanted. Okay, so there's my base, there's my outside. So now I'm gonna make the stuff that goes inside. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the top circle and then do the bottom circle. So that I'm gonna use my bail making pliers for, I think. And so, oh dear, now I'm just throwing things at me. So I'm going to see the smallest size of my bail making pliers. What size circle is that going to make me? So I'm just going to wrap that around my pliers, like so. And then see how that fits into, yeah, okay, I like that. I think that fits well. So I'm going to cut it the same way I did before. So that's going to be with the flush sides towards what's going to stay. Alright, so there's that. So then I need another circle. It's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to grab the smaller bail making pliers. Okay, so I've got another circle here. Okay, I think I like the proportions of that. I'm going to have to squish it a little bit more, but I don't really have a problem with that, I don't think. I could just make this circle a little smaller. Actually, I think that might be what I'm going to do. So when we get smaller, recut it, remove some wire, and then I have to resolder it and refile it. So if I'm going to be resoldering this one, I might as well solder that one at the same time. And I am doing all of this with the same density of solder because it's all flat. So there's nothing, so I'm just going to file this one. There's nothing really, you know, if I reflow my solder when I'm placing things, there's really nothing that's going to fall off or pop open because it's all very low stress solder joints. So there's really not a need to change densities, which is good because I only have the one density of 14 karat gold solder. Okay, so I'm going to solder now both of these. Okay, so now I'm going to flux both joints. That one just popped apart, so I'm going to put it back together. Grr. Okay, and then since I have this other ring made, I might as well solder that as well. So again, I'm just using my file to just take down the burrs from the cutting to give myself a flush joint that I can solder. Okay, so three joints means three pieces of solder. Okay, so I'm going to flux that as well, and then I'm going to cut myself 3 pieces of solder, and then I'm going to solder those babies all together. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then this should go pretty fast. Okay, there we go. All 3 soldered. Now they're going to come over here and cool. While those are cooling, I need to make one more small ring, and then I need to cut the little bits that are going to be my my little eyelashes as well. So I'm going to make one more ring that's going to fit inside of this one here. So I'm going to go back to my bail making pliers. And I'm going to find my even smaller bail making pliers. And I'm going to make myself another ring. Okay, so that's just a very small one. So I'm going to cut that. And then I need to cut the bits that are going to be the little eyelashes. And so I made those on my sample. I made them about not all the same length, so they're between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch long. And I like to make them not all the same length necessarily because I like the kind of wackiness of it. I'm pretty sure that my idea when I was doing the sample was the top ones would be slightly shorter and the bottom ones would be slightly longer, just kind of fill the space. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 at 1/4, 2 at 3/8, and 1 in between. And I do want to flush cut the ends of these. So that means that what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually flush cut the end of the wire, and then I'm going to measure, and then I'm going to flush cut the other end as well. And then before I move on to my next one, I'm going to flush cut the end of my wire again. Just because they're going to be easier to solder if that end is flush, and they're going to hammer out prettier if the other end is flush. And bear in mind, you can cut these down if you need to after you've soldered them on. So you're not necessarily married to this length forever. Alright, so now this should all be cool enough that I can touch it without burning myself. I am going to use the tweezers to help me arrange these babies, because I do not want to use my bumble fingers to try and place all this stuff. And don't forget this small ring that I made. I need to real quick file that as well. So I've got all my little lashy bits up here. Find the tool that I need first. Hey, more people showing up. Hi people, how's it going? Welcome to Freeform Friday on the Beading Dreams stream. I am working on this project right now. I'm doing it in bronze instead of sterling, but so far I have made a bunch of circles out of bronze. I've made the outside circle, and then I've made the 3 inside circles. I've soldered 3 of the 4 of those, and now I'm going to see how everything fits together. So, alright, so here's my outside circle. So, since I made that smaller, okay, so by making it smaller, well, hello! Bonjour! Comment allez-vous? Hello from Dallas. Okay, so now that I made it smaller, I actually can get it on my mandrel to round it back out, which is nice. Très bien. It's been a good day. We're tired. Very tired.
Goodness, yes.
We had 19 Girl Scouts all in a group today getting a merit badge, and so definitely looking forward. Yeah, right? Seriously. Yes. I'm looking forward to elevating my feet above the level of my waist when I get home.
They were prepared just fine. We were prepared, but were somewhat hampered by the presence of Boss Mom.
Yes. Yeah, and it always, hey Lori! Hi Lori! Hi Lori, son! Yeah, and it always, because we were running, it was a merit badge. By the way, if anybody in Dallas knows a junior troop of Girl Scouts, we do the junior jeweler, we've got a program that complies with the requirements for the junior jeweler merit badge, but it required us running 2 tables. And it never ceases to amaze me how the moms, and even one of the moms told the girls to be mindful of us when we were walking behind them, and yet the moms just like congregate and just block the entire traffic pattern. It's like, okay, no, this does not work. But we all survived, they all survived, they all completed the merit badge thing. So
I only clocked 1 with my elbow and only dropped 1 bracelet. So.
That's super impressive, and I did not hit any of them with a hammer.
Oh, just kidding, I dropped 2 bracelets.
So, Ashala, where are you in France? Okay, so now I'm going to write, seriously. Okay, so now, wow. For some reason, that tweezers doesn't want to pick anything up. I have no idea why, considering that one side of it is bent like... Right? We need to get some velvet ropes. I'm sorry, moms. You need to stay behind the velvet ropes.
Oh, she usually does that herself. She needs to stay behind the beaded curtain and say, Allison.
Oh, right.
At exactly that volume, regardless of where you are.
Okay, so now we're gonna see. Okay, and if things work out just perfectly, which we're not quite gonna do, I can actually use this same solder to solder that together, and that solder to solder that together. But I need to squeeze this just a little bit, and squeeze is a technical term, so I'm literally just gonna compress it a little bit with my fingers, and then hopefully, because what I need is I need contact, so I need this to contact there, I need this to contact here, and then I need this to contact here. And so you can see we're just a little bit shy here in the middle. What I think I might do now is okay, that's better. Just gonna jigger these around. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm good with that. So, yes, no, definitely more fun with the W. I am a fan of the optional W in the word squeeze. And then I'm going to take my smaller ring, and that's going to get soldered down there. And then my little eyelashy bits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flux this, and then I'm going to go with, then I'm going to put my eyelashes down, because otherwise they're just going to get moved all over the place when I flux. Yes?
I'm putting my eyelashes down in it.
I see. Mary might have hit a child with a hammer or a mom with a hammer?
No, followed the arrows.
Ah.
Because Mary cares about the well-being.
And I am, since I am going to be soldering on here, I do need to flux the sides of this. Like I said, I'm going to flux, and then I'm going to put down my little eyelashes. Okay, so now, shortest ones, I decided on top. Lori, if you're still on, do you want to torture us with whatever you've cooked recently? And once again, I like for these to be kind of wacky, so I'm not gonna get too anal about this. But I also do want to make sure that they look like eyelashes and not like cat whiskers. So I want them to go up a little bit more. And I think this one's just a little too long. Doing this around the camera is really fun. And by which I mean it's a pain in the butt. Okay, so my long ones are too long, so I gotta cut those down. And this is the most putsy and annoying part of a project like this, is just making sure that everything gets laid out properly so that when you, oh, you totally should, Keiko, that would be amazing. Keiko wants to make a version of this that's a kitty cat, and I think that's spectacular. Well, I mean, it's not the materials that are the hard part. All you need is 20 gauge wire and solder. It's all the equipment. Do you solder, Keiko, at all? Okay, I think I'm gonna have to trim that down a little bit more because I don't want it to overhang like it's doing right now, but I think I'm gonna try to solder it first. We'll see if this is a good plan or a bad plan. Are you a good plan or a bad plan? Okay, I like that. That's an appropriate amount of wonky and wacky, I think, for me. Yeah, okay, so then you're just gonna have to come here, visit us here in Dallas and use our equipment. See, I fixed it. Okay, so how many joints do I have? How many pieces of solder do I need? Okay, I like to hedge my bets, and even though I could theoretically use the same solder here that's already on the metal, I'm still going to cut a new piece of solder. So that means I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of solder. So I'm going to cut myself 10 little wee bitty small pieces of my 14 karat solder, and I'm going to put them on my solder board. Oh, and I said I was going to make a jump ring for the top too. That's 11 then. Alright, so that means I have to make one more small ring. So it took less than 24 inches of wire. Significantly less. Just for anybody who's keeping track. I do like to overestimate on my project supply list because it's always better to have too much than not enough. But if you were, say, trying to make this in 14 karat gold, you wouldn't have to order 24 inches. You could definitely get away with 18 or even 16. Though my mom, lively, was like, I want one of those in 14 karat gold. So I looked it up, and in 14 karat gold, the cost, just the cost of the wire at wholesale is about $275. And I was like, I'll make it for you in 14 karat gold, but you have to buy your own wire because that is not an amount that we can comfortably float. Alright, so that's going to go there. Just add a little bit more flux on there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick transfer my solder, and it may or may not flow while I'm placing it on the joints. I'm going to try and get it all on there, and then I'm going to flow it after. So we're going to see how this goes for me. Wish me luck. So first I'm just going to heat everything up. It's going to make placing the solder easier because the solder is going to want to flow towards heat. And then I'm just going to start picking up my little bitty bits and placing them where I'm going to want them to go. So the key to pick transferring solder is solder flows towards heat, so make the metal hotter than the solder pick. The solder will come off the pick and it will stick to the metal. Alright, so that one actually flowed, which is fine. Right now my focus isn't on flowing it, it's on placing it, but if it flows it's not a huge deal. It's not bad. Okay, so now everything's placed. So now we are going to try and make all of this flow where we want it to flow. So I'm just going to heat everything, make sure it's nice and warm. I've got my pick in my hand in case I need to nudge anything. Like, I don't love this lack of angle here. so I want to nudge that apart for starters. Okay, so I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and so my goal is to join, alright, so join those two rings together, which I did, and then join this ring to those two, which I just did. See? I'm going to try and join my eyelashes. Okay, so this two worked. This one is lacking contact. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to nudge it up, and there we go. So as soon as it contacts the metal, solder flows no problem. I think all of those flowed. That went. The top go? I can't really see it. I think it did. Okay, so wham bam, I think this is like the moment of truth when you kind of, well, okay, if it's stuck to the solder board, don't try and yank it off. Just heat it gently. Except don't do what I just did, which is lose a piece. No! Okay. It's okay. We can save this. Just have to get it back on, heat it again, and try not to let the eyelashes collapse off of the thing. So, you know, that's all. Alright. Our attached eyelashes are slightly wonky, but we're going to go with it. Alright, there we go. So now we're going to let that cool again, and I'm going to, oh, dang it. No, we're not, because that joint. Okay, now we're going to let this cool, and then we're going to hammer the crap out of it. Ta-da! Let's see what for now. I think your identity is safe with us, Keiko. Okay, so there it is, and it's a little wonky right now because of that thing that happened when I had to resolder, but again, once I press it down and hammer it, I think it's going to be just fine. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of shaping on my little eyelashes, and so this is important. If you're going to do any shaping and forming of these little eyelashes, you need to do it before you hammer, because hammering is going to work harden them in place, and they're going to be a lot harder to move after you hammer. So if you want to do any manipulation of them, you really need to do it before you hammer. And I'm on the fence about whether I want to trim this bottom one or not. I think I'm going to trim it just a hair. Like, seriously, just a bitty bit. I'm literally just snipping like 1 millimeter off the end of it. Yeah, I like that better. Exactly, I'm just trimming the eyelash hair by the width of an eyelash hair. Okay, so now I'm gonna hammer this. Like I said, I'm going to hammer the crap out of it because I want to make it sturdy. Because it is only 20 gauge wire, and especially since it's been soldered, it's at this point very, very soft. So I'm going to move it off camera, and if you need to turn down your volume, now's a good time to do it. And I'm just going to take my chasing hammer, take the round side, sorry, not the round side, the flat side. So, chasing hammer has seen better days. Is there another chasing hammer in here? Cool. I'm wanting to do a high polish on this when I'm done with it, so this chasing hammer has the head of it's been damaged, so use this one instead. So now I'm just going to pound the crap out of it. So let's just do a real quick, okay, this is before. Alright, and then here is after. So it's obviously it's a lot flatter, but it's so much sturdier. Like it's so much stiffer now. Like I could bend this if I wanted to, but it would take me a lot more effort now than it would have a minute ago. Now you'll notice that my solder joint here kind of smushed out and is a little bulbous. I could totally take a round file and I could just get rid of that extra little bit of solder if I wanted to. I'm going to see what it looks like when I polish it up. If it bothers me then we'll get rid of it, but if it doesn't, then I'll just leave it. So that's it. That is the protective eye pendant, the tutorial that never happened. And it's a really fun project. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can do with this. And yeah, you can play around with the design. This would be amazing as a kitty cat. This would be amazing as all kinds of things. So that's it for Freeform Friday today. Thank y'all for hanging out with me on the Beading Dreams tutorial stream for the final execution of the protective eye pendant in bronze. So hold on, I want to see. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, hi, Tallyfet! You did! I'm sorry, I got on, well, I didn't get on time, but I got on less late than I sometimes do, due to the fact that XSplit always wants to freaking update right as I'm starting my broadcast. But I did finish. I made a pendant. I made the protective eye pendant, and it was really fun. So now this is going to go into the tumbler, and then after I get it out of the tumbler, I'm going to buff it with my flex shaft. So I will post a picture on Discord when it's done, which is probably going to be sometime next week. So that's it for Freeform Friday today on the Beading Dreams stream. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Don't forget, tomorrow we have our Captured Cabochon Pendant tutorial. That is a cold setting. That means it is a way for you to set cabochons without having to use a torch and without having to do the crazy intricate bead embroidery work like Tallyfet and Diane do. So it's a much simpler setting. It's very easy. All you need are metal shears and sheet metal, and it's a really great way to use cabochons if you hoard cabochons but you don't know what to do with them and soldering's not your thing yet. It's a really fun tutorial for that. So that's going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central, and then we will be following that with a live merchandise sale at 7:30. So everyone have a great night. Right, everyone have a great night, and we'll see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream with Heather and I, tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the tutorial, 7:30. I mean, come on. I think soldering should be everybody's thing. I know it's not, but I personally quite enjoy it. And yes, I think we all hoard more things than cabochons, Tallyfet. We're just not willing to admit it live on the internet. So everyone have a great night. We'll see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, tomorrow at 6. Bye, y'all.